Now, when it comes to the NA28, there is one thing that I've noticed when comparing the NA28 to other critical editions of the Greek New Testament, and that is its use of conjectural emendations. There's two places I can recall in the NA28 where they use conjectural emendation. Like they decide that none of the manuscripts have the correct reading, so they try to infer what it is. I don't remember off the top of my head, except that one is in Acts and the other is in one of St. Peter's epistles. Now, I looked at the SBL Greek New Testament as well as the Cambridge Greek New Testament, and they don't use conjectural emendation in those two places. So I guess my question relating to that is, do you think conjectural emendation is ever necessary to determine the original reading at any point in the Greek New Testament?
I'm not sure that it is. I've
Hmm.
not looked at those either, so I don't want to speak
Hmm.
off the cuff. I know from my Old Testament scholarly friends that there are times in the Old Testament, no matter
Hmm.
how conservative we try to hold to the Masoretic text, that they feel sometimes we've got a mistake. We think there's a way we can see how it developed, even though we don't have a manuscript that has it exactly that way. But we are on much more secure footing with the New Testament, and yeah, I'm not sure that that's sort of a counsel of despair as a very last resort, and I'm not sure we're ever pushed that far.
Hmm. Yeah, I'm inclined to agree on that point. Um, Now, another question I have regarding the dating of manuscripts. So, we use stuff like carbon dating and paleography to try to determine when to date certain manuscripts, but I know that some scholars have questioned the accuracy of such means. So, for example, it's long been said that the earliest manuscript that we have of any New Testament document is P52, which contains part of the Gospel of John. And I've often heard it said that you can date it to maybe somewhere between AD 100 and 150. But I've recently heard that there are some scholars, such as Brent Nongbury in God's Library, who would argue that actually we can't securely date P52 or many other similar manuscripts to the date that has traditionally been assigned to them. So we can't rule out P52 being later than what has been claimed for it. Would you agree with this assessment, and how would that impact the argument for the reliability of these New Testament manuscripts?
I don't think I would agree. No, Brent has made a career out of taking textually unpopular and not highly agreed upon positions. Um, Two of my good friends have produced an amazingly wonderful book that is not technical at all. Elijah Hickson and Peter Gurry on uh, mistakes that apologists frequently make about New Testament textual criticism. And unfortunately, I appear in there a couple of times, once when
Mhm.
I deserved to because I didn't express myself at all clearly. And another place where we've just agreed to disagree. But they do say that we need to be more cautious than some books I have read that will say we can date P52 to 125 or we can date P52 to 140. If we want to be extremely fair and not overstate things, they actually say we should talk about 100 to 150. Um, and if you come up with an average, well, you do come up with 125, so that might be more likely than the extreme ends of that period of time. But yes, there is caution, especially with carbon 14. People that have studied this far more than I will say. You can get to pretty confidently within 50 years, and sometimes even more so, more closely than that. Paleography, another area that I have to rely on the experts to talk about handwriting analysis. I have certainly watched in my lifetime, and given the fact that when I was little, my grandmother and some of her siblings, my great aunts and uncles, did something very old fashioned called writing letters by hand with cursive. Um, I can trace a change in American cursive. Of course,
Mm,
now the change is people aren't even learning it. But those who have studied the scribal tendencies will also say we can often get to within 50 years. We can regularly get to within 100 years because of how, in small ways, letters were formed differently
mm,
as handwriting and
mm,
printing evolved. But does that mean we need to suddenly have all kinds of doubts about the process? I don't see any
mm.
reason for that.
Yeah. So if I'm understanding correctly, we can determine using paleography that there's a certain range of dates, but there's always going to be a margin of error within
Sure.
that range. Okay, that is fair. Uh, the remaining question that I have don't have are related to the New Testament and its reliability more broadly.
That's
Um,
fine.
all right.
That's what
So
I thought
here's
I
the
was going to be dealing with.
yeah, same here.
Hey, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the content. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button, the like button, and if you want to support the channel, visit patreon.com/Reason and Theology.